Hey, welcome back to Plug and Play EV. My name is Steve, and today the video will be looking at the Volkswagen ID.4, which we spent some time with earlier this month on a business trip down to the tri-state area. We'll be looking at the charging in cold weather, the road trip qualities of the car, and kind of first impressions before we do some deeper dives into charging, how the road trip went, and some of those things. So let's not waste any time, let's jump in. So first things first, we did a little bit of a different approach with this one. So actually I did the full review from a more general perspective over on findthebestcarprice.com. So I've posted that video in the community. I'll also put it in the description and the comments here. So if you want more of a kind of general overview of the car and the cabin, storage, comfort, that kind of thing, you can go over and watch that one. On this channel, we'll stick to more of the EV enthusiast stuff, so how the charging went, cold weather performance, how it stacks up to the Bolt EV and other EVs we've driven as a pure electric vehicle, and then overlapping some of those things that we discussed on Find the Best Car Price channel, but for the most part from an EV perspective. We didn't want to take the Bolt away from the family at a time when they needed the car, when I needed to do a business trip down to the tri-state area from Boston, so there was a need to have the two cars there. Thought it'd be a good opportunity to get into a different EV, so see how it went in cold weather, something that is similar in terms of range, but certainly the next step up in terms of space, comfort, and charging performance. Came from an owner in the local area, and was able to rent that on Turo for a few days. So all very straightforward, easy to access locally, grab the car, go down, do the road trip, and come up and then do a few videos with reviewing the car, seeing how it drove locally, that kind of thing. So one of the first things I kind of felt after getting into the ID.4 was obviously the size. It has a much more significant road presence than the Bolt, more of a robust build, feels like that kind of German quality. Not in all areas, but certainly in terms of closing the doors, you know, you get that thunk. Some of the cabin materials not quite so hard as the Bolt EV. And just generally, you know, a little more refinement in the build quality that you would expect, you know, comparing a Chevy to a Volkswagen in general. Felt good over bumps, high seating position, visibility was decent, really good driver assist with blind spot monitoring that was very clear. Didn't feel as maneuverable as the Bolt, of course, you know, that's just by virtue of the size of the vehicle. So for local driving, certainly the Bolt's really easy to nip in and out of spaces, lots of visibility out of most sides. Rear view camera we did miss. It's just something that not a lot of cars have. It's quite surprising in some ways that you get it in a car that is very, you know, budget conscious like the Bolt. And then getting into the different areas of the car, the Volkswagen ID.4 is obviously much larger, double what the Bolt is with the seats up. Didn't need it on this trip, it was just myself traveling, but as we think about upgrading the family to a larger vehicle with more of their, you know, kids larger, having more stuff that they need to haul everywhere, the Volkswagen ID.4 is certainly a good people mover and luggage mover for families of 4 or 5. Seat comfort was outstanding in the ID.4, certainly one of its best features. Big, wide, kind of throne-like seats. Heated, but much broader kind of spread. You feel like maybe because the seats are bigger, they've got more space to spread that heat out, and it definitely felt a step above what we're used to in the Bolt here. Having the big panoramic view roof opens things up a little bit. We were driving ID.4 First Edition, so it was kind of the equivalent of a Pro S trim as far as I can tell. Had the white steering wheel and white seats, which probably wouldn't be the best choice for us with kids, but you know, it didn't get dirty over the few days we had it. So no complaints there. In terms of the visibility, good, but in terms of the control, not so good. The haptic kind of buttons, the arm buttons, don't really work. It seems like a really, as I'll point out in that review on Find the Best Car Price YouTube channel, it just seems like a halfway measure, kind of trying to be a bit more minimalist and hide some of the functionality without actually getting the functionality of a button. So go one way or the other. Do the Tesla thing if you really want to just have minimalism and bury everything in the screen and the tablet, or go with some buttons, you know, have a physical button that's tactile and easy to use across the whole of the cabin. That was awkward on the steering wheel. It's not a great feel. It was hard to kind of get things precise. On the side here, you keep hitting the rear window button and knocking the controls for the window controls up and down in the rear versus the front. And then on the volume dash on the main screen, it was a little bit finicky and you kind of couldn't quite get the level you wanted. May come with time and it may be something you can adjust to, but when you have something that's tried and trusted, go with that or go with the Tesla approach, but pick one. Don't kind of make a middle ground that doesn't work in either way. They have very seamless entry where you can just pop yourself into the car, detect you're in, you don't have to turn it on or anything, much like a Tesla. You have the drive modes, which are not even a full one-pedal driving, which we'll get onto in other videos. But, you know, it feels much more like a regular car. You can see people who are cross-shopping a Toyota RAV4, a Honda CR-V, these family or small to mid-sized crossovers being comfortable in this as a cabin and a vehicle, with only the electric drivetrain and the need to recharge being the main kind of characteristics of it being an electric car that they'll have to adapt to. But in general, you can say it's a road tripper. You know, it's a comfortable, spacious cabin where you can stretch out, use the driver assistance features to kind of help you, keep a steady speed, keep a steady distance. And massaging seats, I really don't get it. Honestly, felt like when my daughter in the Bolt gives me a little nudge from the rear seat with her feet, by accident or as a prank, whatever it is, felt exactly the same as the massaging seats. So not quite sure I understand the allure of those, but if that thing is your bag and you like to have that kind of lumbar pressure exerted, then the ID.4 has it. And then you get the comparison of getting into city driving versus the highway driving. Highway, no complaints, good pep, just enough to get it onto the interstate in little gaps that you want to jump into. Works around Boston, works around the tri-state, no problems there. Not as peppy as the Bolt EV. The rear-wheel drive version that we were in has a 0 to 60 time of somewhere between 7 and 8 seconds. So it's more in the kind of Nissan Leaf category, Kia Niro EV maybe. And, the Bolt's no rocket ship, but it certainly has a distinctive feel that you're getting to that 40, 50 miles an hour a little bit quicker and a bit more nippy. If you get the all-wheel drive version of the ID.4, there's potential to kind of cut out any grip problems, but also give you a faster 0 to 60 time. But again, it's not really designed for that. That's not what the aim is for this car. It's to attract more regular car buyers, people who are using this to move people around place to place, A to B, and it just happens to be electric. So I think it gets the job done. In terms of charging, the car didn't get everything that we would expect to see from it. The 125 kilowatt max wasn't something we reached, whether we started at 10%, 20%, whatever it was. Never quite got to the 125. But on several sessions, we did see that kind of 90 to 100 kilowatts. So we're already double the speed of the Bolt, or in winter, triple the speed. So you certainly noticed that stopping for a fast charging session, we were able to go in, do our coffee break and the restroom, come back, and the car was ready to go. So I think that's promising for the future. Still some cold weather problems, still have the need to address battery warming. I'm sure the ID.4 does a much better job of it than an older EV like the Bolt or the Nissan Leaf. But of course, you still have that problem, which Tesla has started to solve, of when you go to a fast charger, you need the battery to be warmed up. And that's what you really need to have in every battery management system. When you navigate to a fast charger and it knows the charging speed is going to be 100, 150 kilowatts plus, you should be warming that battery. The car should know at that point that it needs to start doing some work. It's going to get the energy back in really soon, so it can afford to spend some of the energy on heating the pack and getting it up to a more warm temperature than the ambient. So it's really just a quick one. I wanted to put out first impressions, shall we say, before we get into more of the deeper dives into charging sessions we did, the road trip and the efficiency, that kind of thing. All that, the cold weather performance, will be in future videos. So I did enjoy it. I will have to say it's not going to be one that we will upgrade to. There's going to be more and more of this on the channel as we kind of get into our final year of the lease here on the Bolt EV, and have a decision to make with. We want a larger car, which the ID.4 does. We want something that is probably going to have similar or greater range. Again, the ID.4 delivers there, faster charging, ID.4 delivers. But then the sticking point as an EV enthusiast, I want the things that make an EV special to me. The one pedal driving, regenerative braking that brings you to a complete stop, the nerdy data and the power displays that help you to kind of feel how the car is driving, where the energy is going, all that kind of stuff. There are several pieces of the ID.4 as an electric vehicle that didn't quite make it for me. But again, that's coming from the niche parts of the market for which Volkswagen were not aiming. They were aiming at these people who just want to get into a car that is like other cars they've driven, but happens to be an electric vehicle, something that could be a very nice stepping stone, or it might just be how you want an electric vehicle to be. It might be all the things you like in a combustion vehicle with the benefits of driving electrics. How do you feel about the ID.4? Have you driven one? Did you take a test drive and immediately love it? Immediately know that it wasn't for you? Would the rear-wheel drive version be enough for you, or do you think the all-wheel drive is something you're going to need to get closer to that EV performance that we all know and love, and accept that slight trade-off on maybe 10, 20 miles fewer as you're driving? Interested to hear comments and questions as always. We'll try and answer as many of them as we can in the videos, but definitely just slide them down below. Give the video a like if this was helpful to you, and we'll see you in the next one covering the Volkswagen ID.4. Thanks for watching.